Islam, 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 and welcome to another edition of the Moorish Light. Um, of course, we will begin by saying the prayer um, Islam, 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 Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. Of course, this is another edition of The Moorish Light Continues, where the podcast is a revolution. And of course, we begin as we usually do, reading from the Holy Quran of Mecca. Today we're reading Surah 109. And of course, I will share that with you. And it reads Surah 109 Al Kafirun, those who reject faith. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful, say, O ye that reject faith. Faith is a matter of personal conviction and does not depend on worldly motives. Worship should depend on pure and sincere faith, but often does not. For motives of worldly gain, ancestral customs, social conventions, or imitative instincts, or lethargic instinct to shrink from inquiring into the real significance of solemn acts, the motives behind them reduce a great deal of the world's worship to sin, selfishness, or futility. Symbolic idols may themselves be merely instruments for safeguarding the privileges of a selfish priestly class or the ambitions of greed or just of private individuals. Hence the insistence of Islam and its teacher on the pure worship of the one true God. The Prophet firmly resisted all appeals to worldly motives and stood firm to his message of eternal unity. Ayat 2 says, I worship not that which ye worship. 3 says, nor will ye worship that which I worship. It says verses 2 and 3 describe conditions as they were at the time when the surah was revealed and may freely be paraphrased. I am a worshiper of the one true God, the Lord of all, of you as well as of myself, but you, on account of your vested interests, have not the will to give up your false worship of idols and self. Verses 4 and 5 describe the psychological reasons. I, being a prophet of Allah, do not and cannot possibly desire to follow your false ancestral ways, and you, as custodians of the false worship, have not the will to give up your ways of worship, which are wrong. The will in the translation represents less the future tense than the will, the desire, the psychological possibility. It tries to reproduce the Arabic noun agent. So, simply put, the last prophet in these days and times is Prophet Noble Drew Ali, and he has brought a revelation from the great God Allah, built on divine and national principles, helping us to find our way home mentally, physically, spiritually, morally, constitutionally, and historically. Find our way home. It says, I will not worship that which ye have been wont to worship, nor will ye worship that which I worship. To you be your way, and to me mine. Having been given the truth, cannot come to your false ways. You having your vested interests will not give them up. For your ways, the responsibility is yours. I have shown you the truth. For my ways, the responsibility is mine. And you have no right to ask me to abandon the truth. Your persecutions will be in vain. The truth must prevail in the end. And this was the attitude of faith then, but it is the true for all times. Hold fast to truth in scorn of consequence. So there's a quote: the truth is the light, and the light must shine. So when I think of truth, I also think of chapter 17 of our Holy Quran, which talks about will. And I'm going to stop sharing this, and we're going to go into that chapter. I'm going to stop sharing, and we're going to go into the will. We're going to look at will in a couple of ways here. One, we're going to look at chapter 17. And chapter 17, we'll start with verse 36. In the flesh of man, there's the essence of the resurrection of the dead. This essence is quickened by holy breath, will raise the substance of the body to a higher tone, and make it like the substance of the bodies of the planes above, which human eyes cannot behold. There's a holy ministry in death. The essence of the body cannot be quickened by the holy breath until the fix is solved. The body must disintegrate, and this is death. And that upon the pliant substances Allah breathes, just as He breathed upon the chaos of the deep of the world when the worlds were formed. Life springs forth from death, and the cardinal form is changed to form divine. The will of man makes possible the actions of the holy breath. And when the will of man and the will of Allah are one, the resurrection is a fact. So, what other name do we give to truth? Holy breath. What is truth? Truth is art. What is art? Art is Allah. Now, a lot of us get confused by the term disintegrate, and I did take the time to look that up so that we can understand what that actually means. So give me a moment to stop sharing this. And let me share my screen again and see if I have that in my. And I have, I'm really working hard because somebody's Bluetooth is in my ear, and it's driving me crazy. But I gotta do the work of Allah, so I'm gonna be patient and bear with it. Spiritual disintegration is the breakdown of a person's inner cohesion, core beliefs, and connections to meaning, often feeling like a severe existential crisis, a dark night of the soul, a loss of purpose. This is not the one I wanted, but let me read a little further. It involves, but it involves dismantling an old ego-driven self, which, while painful, can act as a necessary precursor to higher personal growth. So when we talk about disintegration, we're talking about the breakdown of self, that lower self. We're not talking about death or the body decaying. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about you going from your lower self to your higher self, and breaking down those particular concepts. Now, I hope you are still able to hear me. I need somebody to at least text me and let me know, because all I can hear is this music. Somebody who's listening can text me and let me know that you can hear me. I would appreciate it. So, moving right along. moving right along. Uh, so that's the part. Will, what is will? Maybe we should look that up. The spiritual meaning of will. And let me go back here so I can come back and share it with you. Will in a spiritual context refers to the direct power of consciousness, the I am, the alignment of personal desire with divine purpose, often defined as choosing love, obedience, and selflessness over ego. It represents the ability to choose commonly divided into free will or moral agency in parentheses and the active pursuit of divine intent, God's will. So our topic today, of course, is the new era and the old era agendas. So we're going to look at that, and I'm going to stop sharing. We're going to look at that, and as we look at that, my picture-in-picture mode is not working, so they closed it because they didn't want to strain my. I think what I can do though, that's not it. Okay, so I didn't do my introduction, did I? I went right into my lesson. My. Let's go back to the intro. Islam, 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 and welcome to another edition of the Moorish Light Continues, where the podcast is a revolution. We began by giving praises to the Almighty God Allah, the causeless cause and the rootless root from which all things have come. We give honor to the last prophet in this dispensation, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, and the first, second, and third form. I give honor to Grand Sheikh John Gibbons-Zeal, who built upon the foundation of the founder, and I like to give a special honor to my teacher, Grand Sheikh Richardson Dingle-Eel, Prophet Noble Drew Ali III, who was with the founder as well as the reincarnated prophet, and as well to his brother, Grand Sheikh Timothy Dingle-Eel, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, modern day Moses and Aaron. Honor to Marcus Messiah Garvey and the great emancipator Abraham Lincoln. Honors to Supreme Grand Sheik and Sheikess Prather Eel, Supreme Grand Sheikess Louise Dingle Eel, the noblest. Honorary Supreme Grand Sheik Thorn Eel and Sheikess Thorn Eel, and our current Grand Sheikess of 1055 North Avenue, as well as our National Grand Sheikess Tiffany Jones Bay. Islam, and welcome to the Moorish Light, the Soul School. Shining light, clearing up the confusion, and teaching the basic facts. Our objective is unity in manifesting the ultimate goal of the Moorish movement. We are not going to dispute Charters, who is the Supreme Grand Sheik. We are here to establish a basic foundation of the Moorish movement in love and understanding. And since this is the Moorish light, it is only appropriate that I define light. Spiritually, light symbolizes knowledge, truth, divine presence, hope, guidance, and purity, representing awareness and the pathway from spiritual darkness, in parenthesis, ignorance and sin, towards enlightenment, goodness, and union with the divine, appearing across cultures as God's creation, inner wisdom, or a guiding force for humanity. It signifies wisdom, life, revelation, and the illumination of the Spirit. So that's the intro, and I kind of did that in reverse. But we're talking about the old era and the new era agendas. That's our topic for today. The prophet went from a temple to a movement. How do we know that? We have additional laws, the Moorish literature, which actually constructs the way we should do more science and how we should run the movement. So, in order to get that started, we first have to look at our authority and understand when the new era began. Let's see, the new era began. See if I can find this now. Well, I can do it another way. And I'm hoping that you can hear me as clearly as I can hear me. So we're going to go here, 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 here. Okay. So I'm going to come back to me. Where am I at? So we're going to share this. Give me 1 second. And we're going to look at our authority. A lot of people look at the front of the book, but they don't look at the back of the book. So first we see how it was filed. Our authority, copybook 521, page 579, the state of Illinois, Cook County, SS, number 10105905, corporation, religious affidavit, form 1099, state of Illinois, Cook County, and this was done 1928, August the 1st, 2 p.m. 2:52, or as we normally would say it, August the 1st, 1928, 2:52 p.m. And as we can see here, um, this is actually the day and the hour of the new era of time. So the new era of time actually started in August of 1928. So for 15 years, the prophet is constructing until he eventually constructs a movement, a divine and national movement. And this was filed on the 20th, and it was registered on August the 1st. And a lot of us celebrate the 20th, and we don't even give August the 1st any credence. But if we understood August the 1st, we will understand that that's the actual day it went into effect, August the 1st, 1928, 2:52 p.m. But it was filed on the 20th day of July, AD 1928, by Drew Ali. So it says here, the Moorish Science Temple of America do solemnly swear that at the meeting of the members of the Noble Drew Ali, Mealy Eel, Small Bay, Lovett Bay, and Foreman Bay, the Moorish Science Temple of America deriving its power and authority from the great Quran of Muhammad to propagate the faith. Now that's one. That's one of the things we're doing, propagating the faith and extend the learning and truth of the great prophet of Ali in America. Now, what is the learning and truth of the great prophet of Ali in America? To appoint and consecrate missionaries of the prophet and establish the faith of Muhammad in America. So we know we're going to establish the faith, which is Islamism according to the Holy Quran of Mecca, and we are going to teach the great, what is it? The learning and truth of the great prophet of Ali in America. And said Moorish Science Temple of America adopted its corporate name the following: Moorish Science Temple of America. And as we move on, or if once we start examining documents, we find that the prophet moved from a temple to a movement, the Moorish Science Temple Divine and National Movement. And a lot of us have not caught up with the movement. We caught up with the temple, but we haven't caught up with the movement. So let's look at some of the things that happened. In 1913, the prophet found the Moorish Science Temple of America, or the Moorish Science Temple. And he tells us that it went through some changes. And I didn't pull that particular, but you find that in the Moorish Leaders Historical Message. He first incorporated as a civic organization, but to understand that, I have to stop sharing again, because I don't want you to go by my word. It's not my word. I need you to go by the facts, because only the truth, as we read earlier, only the truth can set you free. I don't care how much information you got. You have information all day, but only the truth can set you free. So one of the things I thought would be beneficial for us is uh, I have to go. I have to do my homework. Y'all know I have to do my homework. The difference between a civic organization and a religious corporation lies in their purpose and legal treatment. A civic organization works to improve community welfare through social, educational, and recreational activities, while a religious corporation is formed specifically to manage the temporal affairs, property, and worship activities of a religious congregation. A civic, so if we're uplifting fallen humanity, what is the best platform for that? Would that platform be just work in a community alone? Or would that platform be to work on a national agenda for the nation? So those are the things, those are kind of questions we need to ask ourselves. Are we working on a national agenda? So it says, civic organizations focus on community improvement, social welfare, public education, or civic engagement. Examples include neighborhood associations, volunteer fire department, advocacy groups, local service clubs, and Rotary clubs. Religious corporations are dedicated specifically to religious purposes, such as operating a place of worship, conducting services, and advancing, in particular, the faith. Then they talk about how they organize the legal. It says the legal structure and formation. Now, when the prophet um, established the Moorish Science Temple, not for profit or non-profit did not exist. Not the way it exists today. This the way you see it today happened during my lifetime, but it was not always like this. The 501c3s and the 50c. I really don't. I can't. I'm not even gonna try to tell you. I know how to explain that, because what I don't know, guess what I don't do? I don't talk about it. So that's just two of the ways that we have to look at this. Now, as I said, the prophet set up a divine and national movement. So how do we know he started talking from a divine and national perspective? Um, we could start with Acts 6, where it says this, but this is a new era of time now. What kind of time? A new era of time now. And so to understand that, what is a new era? What does that mean exactly? What does it mean to have a new era of time? It means something, and as Moorish Americans, we should understand what that actually means. So I did two things, because I came up under the Charter of Warrant and Dispensation. A lot of people don't know what that means, and I'm not going to get all the way into that right now, but I am going to talk about a new era of time and a dispensation. So in 1913, He was teaching our people how to be citizens. He was teaching them to vote. He was teaching them how to fix their neighborhoods. He was build stores. He was teaching them some very basic citizen things to become accountable and responsible where they lived across the country. He didn't just do it in one spot. He did that across the country. He was teaching, he was helping them to understand what nationality was, understand what race was, understand responsibility, and preparing them to become part of a movement. They were part of the temple, but now they need to become a part of a movement. In 1928, he declared the new era of time. He says in Acts 6, this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized. And so here we go, recognition, to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. So one of those things is recognition. Why? Because you are not Negro, black, and colored, Ethiopian, darky, coon, shine, melanated, and whatever else you can come up with. Because those first five I mentioned were names given to slaves by slaveholders. So at some point in time, there should be some distinction. So in 1928, the prophet's talking about what? Nationalization. He's talking about building a nation, not just temples, but nation building, uplifting humanity. So when we look at the 1928 agenda, it should be a lobbying force for us in our nationhood, not a holiday, no crumbs, not the civil rights, not voting rights, not women's rights, because it should not be based on those. Those aren't the things that determine citizenship. A citizen should be protected regardless of whether he's a man or woman, regardless of what his sexual preference is, regardless of whether he has a disability or not. A citizen is a citizen is a citizen. And as they said in the 1883 decision, there comes a point in time with the aid of beneficent legislation that your rights are protected in the same ordinary mode as other people's rights. But what's the problem? What's the difference with us? Simply that we never went through an emancipation process to put us on just the basic levels of everybody else. We run around with the same slave labels and names, and we're trying to make the labels true. We're trying to make blackness true. We're trying to make we're trying to make blackness true. We're trying to make the European Jesus true. We're trying to do a lot of things that are not true. We're trying to make truths out of these things. So my question would be to the audience, when were we released as property? That's a question to the audience. When were we released as property? So in order to show that that's something that had to happen, I'm going to read from the Resurrection book, page 28, and it's called Nationalize or Nationalization. Now, nationalize is the process. Nationalization is the noun. So let's get that straight, because some of us think they're two different words. They just, one is a verb, one is a noun. Nationalize is the verb, the process. Nationalization is the name of the process. It says the word nationalize or nationalization here in America will be discussed in this pamphlet. And if you have a Resurrection book, it's page 28. A brief, oh, wait a minute. The word nationalize or nationalization here in America will be discussed in this pamphlet as to why it is necessary. A brief clarification on how these words were developed is this. These words were programmed on our minds in 1942 by an official, a major in the National Headquarters Selective Service System. This headquarters was located at 21st and C Street, Northwest Washington, D.C. at that time. So a lot of us say, well, the most did go to Washington, D.C. Spearheaded by Grand Sheik Richardson Daniel, Prophet Noble Drew Ali III, the first Moorish American to be registered under his under Moorish American, his free national name, and have his records corrected. He set up a system called the Moorish Bureau of Vital Statistics, which every temple should have a vital statistics secretary to register everyone who comes through their temple. All of that should go into one national directory. But we so egocentric and scared until we have missed the point of collectively coming together, being able to count our numbers. Because I'm in charge over here in Philadelphia. I'm the Grand Sheik, and I'm not saying that to person. I'm just using it as an example. I'm the Grand Sheik, and I gonna keep my members over here. Well, you don't build a nation through segregation. You cannot build a nation through segregation. You cannot build a nation by taking a piece of Moorish science and running over here and doing this and doing that, and you're tax exempt and you're doing all these things. We should all be on one path, but let me read. We were sent to the office of the state headquarters of Selective Service over at Maryland because his local board made a ruling that we Moorish Americans were Negro, black, colored in Ethiopia. So when he went to the state said, "Oh no, y'all not Moorish Americans." So let's see what happens. The state director said to change that ruling, the proclamation had to be handed down from national headquarters of the Selective Service System of Washington, D.C. Now, when I came into the Moorish Science Temple, we got our records corrected. There was not a whole bunch of confusion. The secretary would take our information to to whatever department it needed to go to, and our records were corrected accordingly. But you young moles running around here, you got sovereignty and this T and that T and all other kinds of T's. You're causing more confusion than you're doing to help save the nation because you haven't let go of that ego. You know what we talked about in the beginning of the program. That ego that says, it's all about me. I. But let me finish reading. So they couldn't get the change done in the state. So what did they have to do? They had to go to Washington, D.C. We were sent to confer with General Hershey, but the general was not in. 3 years later, we did confer with, with the general. At that time, we referred to a major. After the major heard our complaints, he told us that our complaints were deeper than he could dream. We asked the major, did he thoroughly understand our problem? If he did, make us know it. The major said, now listen to this carefully. When the Germans took over Czechoslovakia, the Germans nationalized the conquered people according to the German laws. When America conquered you people, America made slaves out of you people. Tell Drew Ali to send into this headquarters all available proof of you people being Moorish Americans. We showed the major Form 1099. That's what I read earlier in this new era of time. Form 1099. And the sixth act of the law inside. Now, in this new era of time, the prophet brought Act 6 and Act 7 from the divine constitution and put it in the additional laws. We need to understand why. And if you read those additional laws are reinforcing what the officers should be doing and what we should be doing as members. Attending our meetings, paying our dues, And if there's a problem that causes a member to sacrifice finance, let it be a life problem. Maybe you lost your job. Who knows? Some things happen in life. But as an officer, you should not be using members to gain money or using the members for money or to do whatever it is that you need to do. Because all of that should come through the Moorish Science Temple Divine and National Movement. But let me finish reading. It says, tell Drew Ali to send into this headquarters all available proof of you people being Moorish Americans. We showed the major Form 1099 and the 6th Act of the Law inside. The major said, this is it. Leave it with me and I will run it into Chicago and get the attachments. We told the major we had no orders to leave the book. Our authority form 1099. Now, notice what they said. We have not been given orders. We don't have the authority to leave this with you. Let me go check back with the prophet and see if that's okay. Because I came here to inform you, and I don't have any authority to leave this with you. Y'all done created documents upon documents upon documents, unauthorized, talking about you doing the prophet's work. I had somebody tell me, well, Allah gave the revelation to Prophet Noble Drew. He didn't give you a thing. He gave you the ability to be humble, though. It goes on to say, um, we had no orders to leave our authority form 1099. The major said, tell the truth. Ali to send it to this headquarters, and we will send it over to listen to this, over to the Justice Department and make law out of it, and you can talk it all you want to. The major called up the state headquarters in Maryland and authorized our change. Then the major said, in time, this headquarters will make all the slaves Moorish Americans. It will take days, weeks, months, and years. He vowed that you people will be nationalized. We asked the major to put it in writing. The major did. He gave us a slip, and on the slip it stated, write the national headquarters, submit all available proof why the slaves are Moorish Americans. The major was talking with such deep wisdom, I imagined in mind that he was a Jesus Christ. I told him that the slaves will only hear Jesus Christ. Question, are you a Jesus Christ? The major said, yes, I am their Jesus Christ. I stated to the major, if you are, or this headquarters is a Jesus Christ, then please make me know it. Then I know that the slaves will hear you or this headquarters. The major said, all right, don't I feed the slaves, clothe them, they sleep in my houses, ride on my streetcars, buses, trains, spend my money, work on my jobs, walk on my streets. Don't I send the slaves welfare checks? This is the government. We have laws. We make everyone obey here in America. By the way, how did you get here? We replied to the major on the bus. The major said that was my bus you rode on, and you can't get out of this building until I signed your slip. Do you think the black man will hear me, etc.? I replied to the major, yes, sir. The major said, you blank right. They will hear me. If they don't, we will turn hell for them. Tell Drew Ali to send the information to this headquarters, and this headquarters will straighten out the subject, but it will take time. We went back to Drew Ali, waited 2 years for orders, and in 1944 the orders were given, and we went back to headquarters. The major wasn't there. He had programmed another major, and this major told us he knows the old nigger story. The major looked at the form and said, the government changed your name. All right, go back, send this, and others who have cooperated with you in making this change and what you want. We will take the matter up from there on. We sent the information to the major. In reply, we received a communication from General Hershey's assistant director. Enclosed are some communications from him. The assistant director later arranged for a conference for us to meet the general. And as I have already stated in this briefing, the general turned us over to the Department of Defense. In later years, a file number 1-17 was established for me. Enclosed is also some communications from the Civilian Aid Office on the subject. For security reasons, some of the documents enclosed in this pamphlet will not be printed in the pamphlet for public use. Any party interested in the documents, please see or contact me, the author. So, for those young Moes who say all the Moes did was sit in the temple and sing and pray and read the Quran, you are so sadly mistaken. And had you taken the time just to have a little humility to learn that things were in place. Now, the other side of that, some people think that those things are just in place for them, and they are not. They are in place for the nation. And that's why we need to come together and make sure that we are all registering in the Morse Bureau of Vital Statistics. And that, of course, that's another lesson that has to be taught. But how do we know? You know this because if you go to questions 85 through 90, now these are questions, Quran questions for Moorish Americans, right? It says, name some of the marks that were put upon the Moors of Northwest by the European nations in 1774. Negro, black, colored, and Ethiopia. Negro, a name given to a river in West Africa by Moors because it contains black water. What is meant by the word black? Black, according to science, means death. What does the word colored mean? Colored means anything that is painted, stained, varnished, or dyed. What does Ethiopia mean? Ethiopia means something divided. Can a man be Negro, black, colored, or Ethiopian? And the answer is no. Why? Because man is made in the image and after the likeness of God Allah. Then we go into Acts 6. Acts 6 says, with us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. Slavery was supposed to be over as of 1865. And if slavery was over as of 1865, then one of the things that should have happened, you shouldn't see Negro, black, and colored documented as identity. There's a, I don't know if I can find, I don't know if we even have time. But we went over some. I had a discussion with AI, and AI was saying so rather than remove the slave labels, they just institutionalized them, incorporated the slaves labels, the slave names, everything with slavery got institutionalized, and with your civil rights movement, and so therefore you've never had the true free mind until the coming of Prophet Noble Drew Ali to be able to exercise your five senses as a free national individual or free national person. Because black, I don't care how you put it, is just a color. Oh, wait a minute, it is a slave label too. But we're trying to blacken history. We don't have to black history. We have an awesome history and the civilization of the world. We don't have to create a story. We don't have to create a story. So, another thing the prophet established was the young men's young men, 'Young Men' 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 'Yo That's something we need to get back into. Teaching young men business. Do you see this? So the prophet was way ahead of his time. And we haven't caught up with him in 2026. We haven't caught up with the prophet. He tells us the Negro problem is being solved only as it can. And that's by the Moorish Divine and National Movement. We bicker about that. When you can't have one without the other. This is not a religious problem. Religion is a symptom of the Negro problem. The prophet had to teach us that. So, in closing, I just wanted us to get focused and understand that the prophet went from the Moorish Science Temple of America to the Moorish Science Temple of America Divine and National Movement. And I don't think there was one other thing. Yeah, I think I got time to cover it. And that is, what is a new era of time and a new dispensation. So I want to close with that note. So I'm going to share my screen again. And I hope that I'm clearing up confusion. I'm not trying to create any. Let's see if I can find that. Well, here's one other thing I did find. Um, and I use AI because I have a background. I have a foundation. So AI is not my teacher. We coordinate together and work together. It says the difference between nationality and ethnicity. Nationality refers to the legal relationship between an individual and a nation state citizenship, usually determined by birth or naturalization. Ethnicity pertains to shared cultural, ancestral, or social traits like language, tradition, religion. Nationality is often formal, passport, while ethnicity is often heritage based. So, when we, because ethnicity is a relatively new term. Let me see something here. All right, so let's just do a little thing here. So I have to stop sharing again because I know you can't see what I see. Let me stop sharing this. Let's go here because y'all think that y'all got some stuff going on. The word ethnicity in its modern sociological sense was first used in the 1930s to 1940s and gained prominence in the early 1950s. Recorded in 1953, it was popularized by researchers like W. Lloyd Warner in the 1940s as a substitute for race, which was becoming associated with ideological racism. So the word ain't that old. Y'all quick. I'm gonna do this one other word. I'm just having a little fun there. It says the word indigenous was first used in the 1630s to 1640s to describe people or things native to a particular place, originating from Latin indigia, sprung from the land of the native. The earliest recorded usage in English dates to roughly 1632, with the term applied to human populations. And then in parentheses, for example, in America, notably. But these are just some of the things you like AI. Use it to to discover some things. Now, what was it I was originally supposed to be looking at? Let me see. That's not it. Yeah, here we go. So let me click on that. Let me stop sharing for a minute. Go back here. I'm gonna see if I can do this very quickly. Very quickly. All right. A new era and a new dispensation are both concepts that describe major shifts in God's plan. Let me say a Lord's plan. But they differ in scope and focus. A new era usually refers simply to a long period of time, while a new dispensation refers to a distinctive administration or stewardship in which God changes how he interacts with mankind, often involving specific tests and responsibilities. A new era, a epoch, or long period of time, often defined by its historical circumstances. Focus, duration, setting the scene for historical change. I hope you're hearing this. And then they use the New Testament. The New Testament era is generally considered a period of spanning from the birth of Jesus to the present. It describes when something is happening. Now, a new dispensation, a specific identifiable arrangement or economy and the development of God's purpose on earth. It is a stewardship where man is tested on a new direct revelation of truth. Because we are not what? These names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. Focus, administration, responsibility, and testing. The shift from the dispensation of law to the dispensation of grace. Of course, everything is a Bible reference to, but I mean, I should expect that. A new dispensation emphasizes a sharp, often dramatic change in God's direct commandments and dealings with humanity, such as the introduction of the church age Pentecost. In this case, every man must worship according to his own vine and fig tree. Did I say that right? Sometimes I get a little carried away. Let me make sure. I pull up my Holy Quran. It says, yes. So it says, and now I'm reading the back the Holy Quran, the Moorish Science Temple of America. Know yourself and your Father God Allah, that you may learn to love instead of hate. Every man needs to worship on his own vine and fig tree. The Uniting of Asia. So I'm hoping that what we covered today can help you get a better grasp on the direction of the Moorish Science Temple divine and national movement and solving the Negro problem and eradicating mental slavery. It is not meant to be. It's not meant to be complacent. It is not meant to be shoved under the blackness. It's not meant because you can't as they say, you can't mix oil and water. You can't mix blackness and Moorish. It doesn't work. Blackness, I mean Moorish, when one proclaims their nationality, blackness is eradicated at that point. So blackness is no longer applicable and it's put in its proper perspective. Now, this is something we have to do as a nation, as a collective. It's time we get on a real page of change. The creator's not going to change. I don't care what we call him. He's going to be the creator. He's going to be Allah. He's going to be Jehovah. He's going to be who he is. But he's going to be who he is according to nations, not according to beliefs. So what are we here for in the Moorish Science? What is our aim? Our aim is that our birthrights are restored and that we gain citizenship under our free national name. That slavery, which has become institutionalized, is pulled out of the institution, and we function under the free national constitution of the Republic of the United States. We're not the only ones caught up in this mess. We're not the only ones caught up. Everybody's caught up because now they're trying to shove. I watch AI try to shove racism, which is no more than racism was slavery. What y'all talking about is not racism. Racism was slavery when one race was felt like they could hold another as property, dehumanize them. That's racism. Racism and slavery go hand in hand. But what y'all calling racism is called prejudice. And will not solve or address a problem because we solve discrimination, which we can't solve because every time you hit it, they just step it up another level. You know that carrot dangling thing. Every time you think you have arrived, they pull that carrot up. Or as my teacher used to say, uh, they they give some people ladders to climb up to reach the top of the wall, take the ladders away and tell you you can do it too. So let's not try to let us not be like the "you can do it too" group. Let us build our own ladders and set our destiny according to what our forefathers gave their lives for. Of course, we're getting ready to come to the end, and I like to welcome any Moorish American, all Moorish Americans, to make a national presence in Washington, D.C. on September the 26th, 2026, for actual Freedom Day. Because if we don't make the world know that there are feathers and turbans other than in your little pocket, we're not saying much of nothing. So I'm going to make a plea that Moors prepare to, and I know some of you might have convention during that time, but if you can, let us make that actual Freedom Day a part of the Moorish American paradigm so that the world know that we all want our birthrights. We all want what's due us as a nation. I'd like to invite you to I invite you to Divine and National Instructions, which we teach on Sundays from 10:15 to 11:45. I do post it, so you can see it. It used to be history and law class, but I stepped away from that because I want to teach the prophet's instructions. I'm not going to follow man. I'm going to follow the prophet to to a destiny that's not uncertain and not unknown. So that's why it's Divine and National Instructions now. Um, we're located at 1055 North Milton Avenue, as well as we have a temple at 2900 West Pressman Street. And I invite you to come and learn, come and share, bring your talents. We're building a nation here. We're not just doing some worshiping. We're building I'm sorry, not building. We're restoring a nation here. So come out. Holiday is from 8 to 10, and Sunday school is from 12 to 2. And again, I implore you, you can go follow my YouTube channel, The Science of Moorish Science. And there's so much we can learn and share together, as well as we have a program for sisters called the Moorish Sisters Network. And it's for sisters to get a grasp on the national side, the historical side, as well as discuss those things that only sisters can discuss with other sisters. So, building the Moorish nation requires more than just attending our temple meetings. It requires a change of mind, a mind reset. We cannot get complacent in mental slavery. So, I thank you and appreciate you for allowing me to bring to you the Moorish Light Continues, where the podcast is a revolution. Embrace the prophet, embrace Allah, embrace divine and national, embrace one another, and embrace the mission. Peace and love.